Hi, everybody, and welcome to another Friday live class here at the Players School of Music. And today I am very honored and thrilled, and I can't believe how happy I feel because I have one of our students, alumni, coming back to the Players School of Music. And this is with his band. He's part of the band Gnarbot.
So hi, we're Gnarbot, and we talked about how we wanted to do this and thought it'd be cool to demonstrate something more through composed, and that's even the guitar solo in the song is composed note for note. Hopefully I don't screw it up. I probably will. And then doing something a little more improv based. So I think we're going to start with the through composed thing. So on guitar, that's Zach Smith, and he often sings too. Zach often sings too, and he's got a wonderful voice. I don't think we'll be doing any vocal stuff today, though. On bass, as you mentioned, Rodrigo Pichardo. On drums, we have Chris Paproda. And I'm Zach Lopresti, and we are Gnarbot. And this song is called Very Good Man, Very Bad Wizard. Weird to play sitting down.
That song is mostly like I think about it in like I said it's two sections. Think about it in songwriting terms, like verse chorus type thing. But in this case, it's more in the jazz realm, like A B section. So the A section is like it's in 17, but it's like a Russian doll type 17 where the melody the what he's playing is in 17/4. What he's playing, the chords is in 17/8, and what I'm playing, and but basically what we're playing is in 17/16, and that's why it's a Russian doll. I learned all the basics of music at player school and more. I really it was like basically putting a magnifying glass. Every teacher, even including Peter, like put a magnifying glass on my playing, and it was like they just knew what I needed to work on. Most of the times it was just really basic stuff, and like the stuff that is very boring in general, but it's the stuff that you need to be doing basically on a daily basis. So that's I really enjoyed the community of the player school. It was really nice. I met some friends that I still keep, and it was just really nice. Like tiny community, but very very focused and like getting better at music, which is really important, and I really appreciate that. And that spirit remains. And if Pete's here and and Vicky's here, definitely, and Matt.
For the students, break down your 17. Like, so you were saying, the Russian doll, you guys know the thing that opens up and all that, right? All the layers.
Yeah.
So why don't you just kind of quickly just break down just a couple of the patterns, just because one thing I talk with students about is odd time and how to think of it. Like I think of it in 2s and 3s a lot.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a 5 is a 2 and a 3, and sometimes it's switch around. A 7 is 2 2s or a 4 and a 3 sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, you don't think. I mean, I personally don't. I don't know about these guys. They also have. Everyone actually has their own sort of unique way of feeling stuff, but and some do think like 5, 7 sometimes. But if it's too fast, you almost just feel it.
Right.
Yeah. So
like a pattern.
Yeah. So, I mean, this particular rhythm, like it's like a couple of 5s and a 7. So. If you want to play your 17/8, so
those chords.
Yeah. So I'm in my head. I'm thinking quarter notes here.
Right.
But it really
You can subdivide that all kinds of ways.
you could, yeah. If you're thinking 8 notes, it's 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, so like that one is that on its own is a thing.
Yep.
With this is a little, like it fits
Yeah.
obviously because I wrote it that way, and the melody is like 4 bars of 17/16, so it's like a whole 17/4. Essentially, it's just like a 4-bar phrase with an extra beat.
Right.
And he's playing. Look, his melody is very quarter note oriented.
Yeah.
You want to play it? And then, yeah. So that's how you would break down those parts, and together like, I mean, I have to give it up to these guys for like really thinking. Like, I have the easiest part because I have the shorter measures.
Right.
But he's got a pretty
long
hard part because he's got to be like really on his quarter notes.
Right.
And then Chris is just doing everything.
Yeah, he's going berserk.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's just the A section, right? And if you want to practice like that, like I was practicing that 17 just with quarter notes, and the quarter note flips, like it's a really good way to get your quarter note like really strong, and I mean just get your time really strong because it flips every bar until it reaches
You want to demonstrate that with Chris keeping quarter notes?
Yeah.
That's tough, 'cause it gets displaced by 16.
It does. I'm not perfect by any means, but like I said, that's why we practice.
I might like go to you,
That's
like,
okay.
Alright, so.
So if you practice it like that, and obviously you heard like the first one was a little iffy there, but if you practice like that, you really like your time gets so much better.
So let's talk about that. How do you practice getting such a good sense of time? Like, what are some practice ideas?
Practice ideas for time. I actually like. I would definitely give the mic to Chris on this one, but what I do most of the time is doing that, like displacements, and polyrhythm. So like I'll play fives over a song, a record, or something like that.
Inside of 4/4. For
yeah.
instance. Yeah.
And to absolutely, I thought you were reaching
Oh, no,
for
I
the
was
mic.
taking this, but-
And to absolutely check yourself like on a very big way, and we have some songs that are extremely hard to play. Like we'll play a group for you, but it's like there's this song that Chris wrote that it's in 5, but like you're just playing threes over it, and it's just like
Right.
and it gets displaced, and it's still but if you count a 5, it's there, right?
Right.
But so I've been since this is a straight quarter note, like I put the quarter note on and I play that, and then I take the quarter note away and I just have the beat, on the downbeat.
Okay.
And
Every 4.
every 5, every 5,
Yeah.
and you check yourself like that, and me playing that groove, and I don't get it perfect like most of the time, but it's like you have to build up to that. That is what I do to really tighten up before like that's a good warm up before like a Gnarbot show for me, because it gets my wheels turning in terms of time.
So you basically think of it as a pattern that you run across a click, and then you check yourself.
And it lines up, and
because
it
you
lines up.
basically have a set ostinato pattern that helps you try to think of it in 5 or like patterns like that, or 3 over 5.
Yeah, and at that point, I'm not like when I'm playing stuff that is very polyrhythmic, like on stage, when you're like practically on stage, like I'm not particularly counting in the conventional way of being like 1, 2, 3, 4. But I've played this stuff so much already that I know how to do it. But also I count when I need to count.
Sure.
Like when Chris is doing something that maybe I know he's gonna go over the bar line. You have to know whoever you're playing with. Like I know he's gonna go over the bar line and he's gonna do something crazy in triplets, and like I just have to that's when the counting kicks in,
Yeah. Or
but
subdivide in eighths or something, just to like not lose.
So exactly.
Yeah.
I do want to give it up to give it.
Yeah, give it to all of you guys, because you're all like really
everyone,
like
like I
great
said.
time.
Thank you. Yeah, everybody has a unique way.
Yeah. This is interesting stuff, man.
So are we still talking about rhythm?
Yeah, rhythm and time, and developing a good sense of meter, and also like how to think of odd stuff.
Yeah. So I want to add to what Rod was saying about like feeling everything with a quarter note. I feel like it's also equally as important to get comfortable with a given piece of music, especially an odd thing, from many different perspectives, like from a quarter note, eighth note, triplets, all that, like that as your main guide of how you're navigating the thing, as to be able to then freely weave in and out of any of them to improvise over this stuff, because that's the funnest part about this music for me, is just like being able to flow freely over like really out there arrangements. And like in order to facilitate that, it's important to really like dive into the core of what the stuff is and figure out all the ins and outs of how like where, like for instance, like a 5/16 over a quarter note, like just getting comfortable with how that polyrhythm lines up, and just hearing that, being able to like say somebody's improvising a solo and you start accenting like a but like say we're in 4 and you're doing that, so it's like 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3, instead of getting into like, because it's easy to kind of fall into just hearing it overlap in 5 1 2 3 4 5 1, you know what I'm saying, like, so like hearing that stuff as appropriate to whatever you're playing, like if even if it's in 7, like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2, like, you know what I mean, like, so that's been huge for me to free me up over this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for a lot of this stuff, it's just having practiced it enough to the point, like Chris was saying, that I can just like sort of float, especially when I'm comping behind solos and being able to like kind of shy away from like the normal clave of whatever odd time you're doing, because you don't want to like get stuck in that rut, because that's just boring. Yeah, I don't know. I just lots of improvising with these guys and figuring out sort of what works, and like being able to really feel it in the moment. I don't know. Kind of meandering here. Yeah. I feel like that's just the best way to practice, is to just improvise with these guys, and get a real sense of what works, and like feel everyone's collective time and just listen the best I can.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you said clave. So basically what you're saying is you're hearing these odd time things in certain patterns you guys create together.
Yeah.
And that is like the frame that even when you let go of it, you can still hear that.
Yeah,
as opposed to counting
that
the,
going, you can kind of work around.
Yeah, that's really important. Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Thank you. So yeah, I'll kind of piggyback off of that, and I'll just say with like odd time stuff in general, like I don't, when I first like learn a part that's in some sort of wacky feel or time, I often don't count it first or don't look for the explanation. I try to internalize it as just like a thing. So like bump 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 da 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 da. That's the 17. Like I didn't know it was in 17 probably until like a year after we started playing, because I don't need there like it's not. It didn't feel like something I needed to know in order to be able to like internalize it and feel like it's like knowing the thing, like knowing a chord, or actually not like knowing a chord, more like knowing a melody. It's like rhythmic melody sort of thing. And I guess clave is a good way to describe it.
Definitely.
Totally. And then just like a practicing thing in general, like a zoomed out practicing perspective, like just shedding like table of time stuff, which I don't know if anyone's familiar with, but Joe Morello is a drummer, and there's a drum book. I started as a drummer, so I have some of that influence as to how I approach playing guitar. And yeah, so table of time, basically the way you're doing it is you're keeping a slow quarter note, like 40 BPM or something like that, and you're going through all the different kind of like grid divisions possible. So you do a quarter note, that's 4 notes, and then you do 5 notes per click, and then you do 6 notes per click, and you do 3 notes per click, and just like I've shedded that kind of stuff on drums and on guitar. I've come up with patterns, and just getting comfortable with, no matter what your click is, being able to jump into any grid is a super useful thing. I think if you want to keep a quarter note, and I can sort of demonstrate it real quick. Yeah, it's like.
How far do you go up? Do you go up to 13, or how far? Or
I mean,
9,
it depends.
10?
It depends on
the tempo.
Yeah, it depends on the tempo, but. So quarter note would be like. Actually, we'll do. Go ahead. Yeah, play. Like so, quarter note is just on that, and then you'd have your eighth note. You can play whatever you want. You just do like a major scale. Then triple note. 16th note. Quintuplet. And sixth up. It's easier with a real metronome than a human metronome. But that's kind of the point of like being able to weave within those. Oh yeah. That's kind of the point, being able to weave in and out of those things, and yeah, that's it. That's something that's been very helpful for me.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we just quickly talk about your guys' influences? Like, what kind of stuff do you listen to, and give us an idea of the smorgasbord of stuff we heard last night and this morning.
For sure, lots of Radiohead, Animals as Leaders, King Crimson, huge influence on me. Lots of jazz stuff as well. Lenny Bro is one of my favorite guitar players. Pat Metheny, one of Rod's guys as well. Yeah, Chris.
So I'll speak for myself. I started off like playing like rock music. Like I didn't start off in like an improvised kind of music setting, although I always improvised practicing. So like when I discovered, like I went through like the metal stage and then like got into like Dream Theater and stuff like that, and then from that point I discovered more like fusion stuff, and then eventually got into more like straight jazz stuff, and then but what I always liked was more adventurous kind of experimental stuff. Like Wayne Krantz is like one of my favorite musicians in general. The band Gnarbot, Tigran, you know that guy, yeah. Yeah, so many. Like there's so many albums that I've like heard that I just kind of absorbed over the years. What else is huge for me? Drawing a blank. I like Chris Potter, Underground, like Joshua Redman and stuff. Like all that music is just like deeply in my ears now. And yeah, that's what I try to bring to the band.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess it's like the stuff I listen to now is obviously different than what I listened to coming up, but similarly, I think all four of us kind of had a more rock metal upbringing. Like Metallica was like huge for me. Like that was like, you know, I learned every note to the first four Metallica albums. I could play everything note for note. Like Van Halen, like all that kind of stuff. And then you know, you start getting into like the more experimental or precise soloists within those genres. So like Marty Friedman of Megadeth was like huge for me early on, and then like Chris said, Dream Theater, big, and then you know similarly discovered like the fusion thing. Really into a lot of like earlier prog and fusion, like Yes. Zach and I actually had the opportunity to perform with John Anderson when we were kids. We went to the School of Rock Music and we're in this touring program called the All Stars. So, yeah, Yes was huge. King Crimson, Frank Zappa, all that stuff. And then for me, Mahavishnu Orchestra was like a huge thing and still is a big influence. John McLaughlin, Shakti, like kind of everything he's done. And that's kind of given some influence of like Indian rhythm and phrasing and stuff, which has been really important for me. And then, yeah, I mean, definitely my local community has a lot of, like in Philadelphia and like even South Jersey, just growing up, there were always inspiring musicians around me of my same age. So all my friends are some of my biggest influences. And then, you know, like Chris Potter, like Gnarbot, like Tigran, like all these guys are big for me too. Kurt Rosenwinkel, and yeah, I mean, I think we try to bring it all to the table. Like, you know, like we're influenced by all the kind of crazy heady stuff, but like melodically, like I want to like write melodies just as strong as the Beatles or something, even in the context of this band, because like I want it to be powerful, timeless music. So So yeah, all that stuff.
That's awesome. Well, I think you guys should play. Or you had some influences. And then play some music.
My influences basically, I'm a big
You better
Pat.
say Joe Gordon. No.
Pat Metheny was a big in my life. Melodically and compositionally, and just like his performances, it's amazing. I still can't I can't get to his level yet, but I wanna that's who I hold to be like the highest level. And then off of that, like anyone who's played with him basically is great. Brad Meldo, of course. But generally, like I did start like those guys, like these guys, Metallica, Dream Theater, very much like in the prog rock realm. Yes, Mahavishnu as well, and all this stuff that basically like shaped me up to be very hungry for like that kind of like technicality in music. So yeah, and then now I just listen to everything, man. I mean, I listen to a lot of R&B, neo soul stuff, because like I was telling you yesterday that I live in Philly, and if you live in Philly, like you one time at least you have to play. You're gonna play like an R&B gig, you know, like you have to just like do it. Are we doing Shark Hunt?
Sure.
All right, we're doing Shark Hunt.
Shark Hunt.
Shark Hunt.
Yeah.
Why that name? Why does he mean?
Plenty of the names of our songs mean nothing whatsoever. They're just fun. Even the band name is just like Gnarbot. There we go. There's the name. And the song is like Shark Hunt. And we're choosing to do this song because it's very open. There's definitely composed parts that will hit, but there's a lot of room to improvise. And it came about, like, here's a music nerd thing, came about from a late night shedding session of the Lydian Sharp 2 mode, which comes from the harmonic minor family. It's the 6th mode of harmonic minor, and I was practicing that. That's that's what I do when I want to get a new tonality down. I just kind of I swim in it. So like I'll make a loop or something, or even just like a chord that represents the harmony of that particular mode, and I'll just like shed it for like 3 hours, just whatever. And the main melody of this song that happens a couple times comes from that. And yes, I know that the second to last note takes it out of the mode, so I'm sorry. But yes.
So, I had one question for you guys. Your practice habits and how much has transcription been a part of? What would you like say for somebody who, if you wanted to like create a musician, what do you think is important?
I'd say early on, especially, transcription is the most important thing. Actually, I learned this from you, Pete, and I still think about it a lot. It was imitate, assimilate, innovate.
Yes.
Imitate, that's like when you start out, you're imitating your heroes, and then you essentially assimilate what you've learned. And I've found that everyone has their sort of, like, everyone's different in terms of when that epiphany hits. Some people get it faster and some people get it slower. I'm one of those slow guys. So, like, I'll practice something. If I practice it right, I know that if I practice something right, like today, a year from now, I'll be playing it. But a year from now is a long time. But so you gotta make the best of it. Like, so yeah, I mean, I transcribed a lot when I was coming up, especially in the player school. I was a little scared of like some stuff, and I wish I wasn't scared, because all you need to do transcribing is just like write the notes down. Don't worry about learning them like all the way. Like, just write the notes down and then practice it, and the thing about transcription that's very useful is for phrasing, mostly for me. So if you want to transcribe, I would say sometimes, like, there's some passages that are just too hard, and that's fine, you can slow it down. But if you don't have to slow it down, it really helps with your time and your phrasing, because you're hearing it. Like, that's what you're going to be doing in the bandstand, basically. Sometimes you're transcribing in real time. You, like, people play stuff and you play it back. So yeah, I did a lot of that. So I'd say, like, if you're gonna go into music, transcribe in the beginning, and add some, like, you really need a mentor, basically, like someone who sort of ushers you into the world of theory. And once that's there, it's up to you how much you want to use theory. Like, you could, for most of the stuff that I play, it's actually just major scale. I mean, honestly, like, and like, I mean, I think about it that way, you know. So like maybe like 80% of what I play. But it is very, and it's what I learned in the player school was like chord tones before scales, and we talked about that, and I forget his name, the other guitar player, LaRue.
Yeah.
LaRue talked about how a chord tone is the destination and the scales is the road to get to, yeah. So that also in my mind a lot. And if you have an understanding of harmony from the melodic standpoint of chord tones, you will get very far in with improvising, basically. You will get really far. So yeah, I'll
Yeah, man, pass it on, pass it along.
Yeah, I mean, transcription has been huge for me. I did a ton of it when I was in college. There are pieces of music that I will not forget till the day I die. But yeah, it's helped immensely with just like harmonic language, especially like transcribing piano and keyboard players for like all the comping and stuff I do. Just like phrasing, as Rob was saying, melody writing especially. Yeah. Transcription is great.
But transcribing for drums?
Yes.
It's something I honestly haven't done a ton of, and I'm not like anti-transcription for sure, but
Drums is a different.
totally, yeah,
Totally
yeah,
different.
very different. So, what I have found worked best for me, and what really like was a game changer for me, was studying with this teacher Dom Famularo, who was like very into fundamentals and like the most basic stuff, like stuff that I would have thought was boring, like I wouldn't have just like got into on my own. Like I thought I was already at a level where I could play, so like it felt like it would have been a step back to kind of encounter that stuff on my own, but like having somebody really walk me through that and like made me like fall in love with the process of just like sitting in front of a mirror and like making sure everything was super tight. And yeah, fundamentals are huge. So I feel as though getting a really strong base of fundamentals together and then listening a lot and just kind of absorbing the vibe of what you hear, as opposed to trying to transcribe note for note with drums specifically, because there are so many ways to achieve the same sound, like rudiments and stuff like that. You don't need to do the same sticking to hit the same stuff on the kit all the time. So like I almost prefer to not know exactly what a drummer is doing as opposed to what I prefer, which is just kind of being affected by the music and letting the fundamentals that I had spent so much time getting together kind of just be able to facilitate not regurgitation, but my own interpretation of what I was inspired by. So
That's good.
That's my approach to stuff.
Yeah, transcription's great, as everyone's saying. Super crucial early on. It's always something that's like been very, even though I feel like I slack and need to do it more still, but it's been something that's like very fun and inspiring for me to do. Like I kind of recognized early on, oh, I want to learn this Metallica solo. I'll look it up because that's what you do, right? Okay, look it up. That's not right. They're wrong, you know. So you know, noticed more and more over time that the kind of some of the materials available online weren't cutting it. So, you know, just made me want to do it. And I've always gotten, you know, it excites me, the process of learning something really difficult and just going in and like, you know, learning like 10 seconds of music. That's like, you know, if it's the most recent like bigger transcription for me was it was something John Scofield playing All the Things You Are in like I don't know if it was like the late 80s or early 90s or something at Berkeley. It was like Mick Goodrick was playing too. Whatever. It's just like up tempo, All the Things You Are, and it's not. I don't play a lot of straight ahead, so although I have practiced it and shedded it and stuff, it was like the phrasing like and his melodic choices like were just very, very, very interesting and kind of hard to get to feel right. I think that's a big part of transcription too. Like there's the one sense of it where you're like carving melody into your ears. You're like, these are the notes that are happening. It's not like an ambiguous wash of notes. It's like, and that's like learning scales and fundamentals in that way kind of helps reinforce that. But then there's also the physical vibe of like, how did that guitar player like get that sound? How does Derek Trucks make it sound like that? How does Jimmy Herring make it sound like that? How does Jeff Beck? These are some of my big guitar like vibe guys, at least. Like, and when I work with my students, I'm like, okay, like you've got the notes, but that's totally not how it sounds, like at all. Like, listen to how it sounds. Like, do you think that's the pickup he's using? Do you think there was reverb on? Like, whatever. And yeah. Transcribing, it's great. it's fun and it's great, and I want to do it more.
When I was young, I concentrated a lot on technique, and for a melodic instrument, you know, it's not all there is. And I think that when you start forming your musical personality and your improvisational personality, like just always think your ears come before your technique. And and your ideas even come before like your execution. So like you might not be able to like really do something, but if you're hearing it and you have the idea, you could even just write. I mean, nowadays you could just write it down on a computer and just save it for later. You know, there's a ton of stuff that I have on my computer that I don't know how to play yet, but but it's like. But it's really hard stuff that I'm like, I know that I want to do this, but yeah. Anyways, that's another little. It's very cool.
So one thing I realized that none of us cited as influences that that should be cited, at least for me, I have to say, is funk music, and that's really big in Philly, and we do that a lot. And like Zach and I play regularly in a funk band that's like pretty good. got a lot of the guys are in it, and the like achieving the tonal like playing like getting in a band like that regularly made me have to kind of like achieve different things tonally than I had to previously. Just playing like, previously just playing more like prog and rock based stuff. So with the guitars I use, like I have a couple with me, but with the guitars, what's that? No. This one's actually, this was a custom one built for me by a local luthier in South Jersey, Philadelphia area named Pete Brown. The brand is Laudo. This guitar is called the Imperium. It's got a lot of I'm like a mess here. Hold on. No, I got it. I'm good. Yeah. Okay. So got a bunch of tonal options. I can. I don't need to get into everything about every little thing, but what I'm trying to achieve with my setup here, my pedal boards, and with this guitar, and even like future versions of this guitar, because I work very closely with the builder, is just to, like, I want to be able to play if Megadeth needed a guitar player, like I want to be like, hey, I'm ready to go, and I can basically just use what I already have, maybe change a thing or two, or if P-Funk needed a guitar player, hey, I'm ready to go. Or if the Village people need a guitar player, hey, I'm ready to go. That actually might be a thing. So yeah, and in transcribing, I think trying to like really get the right sounds, and for lead guitar players, one of the biggest things is being able to like carry melody like a voice. Like, it's important to be able to do that when you're playing a solo, especially in rock, pop, like context where you're using distortion, not straight ahead as much, not like but I'm talking like kind of like more soaring stuff. I feel like it's important to understand how distortion works and how to make it sound nice, and so your tone sounds like kind of like creamy and vocal like, rather than like harsh to the ears. And that's kind of always what I'm going with. But sometimes I do like to be harsh, so I have settings here that allow me to sound like a train wreck, but that's the intention. So yeah, and clearly Zach and Rodrigo also have quite extensive setups that allow them to do something similar. So yeah, I do think transcribing, not just for melodic and harmonic content, but also for phrasing, fingering, I don't know what the other word, I feel like there's another word I'm looking for, but just like how is the vibrato executed? This nuance. Yeah. Articulation. That is the specific word, but nuance works really well too. It's like, was that note in the solo, did he just play it, or she, did they just play it, or did they bend into it? Or like this note, did they, whatever. There, you can bend into notes, you can slide into notes, you can use the whammy bar, you can do all kinds of things, and learning how to do that stuff, not just how to like play your scales and stuff, but how to play them, how to say the same thing in many different ways is extremely important. I'm rambling, sorry.
That's awesome.
I've taken many a bass solo in my life, and I think
and people were talking.
Yeah. One time I was playing a bass solo at a gig, and this guy. Nice. So this guy literally came up to the band. We were playing like a bar or something. Came up to the band. He's like, "Could you guys start playing again?" Literally while I was soloing. So I know exactly how he feels. Yeah, but the to the question, the reason why I do that, and especially in this band, it's because of the loudness of the band and the type of music. It's not that I don't want to play like the bass just how it is, but I think it fits, and I do enjoy doing that. It affords me a lot more harmonic capabilities, because like with the low notes, especially like with them playing guitar and like the loud drums, like it doesn't come through as well. And but if I'm playing a jazz gig, I'll just go straight up, like bass. But it depends on the gig, really, and it depends on the song. But yeah, I could just like start playing a bass solo without anything on it. It's fine. But the fact that it can will connect with the people who are there to see the show, I don't know. That's the thing. Like, most people will like doze off when a bass solo starts. So I try to make it entertaining because it is a show, at the end of the day. So.
Philadelphia has a thriving, like, creative, artistic, like, experimental music scene for sure. So one thing that's been really good for being able to do music like this is the realm of jam bands, honestly, like which Fish is kind of like the overlords of, and like a lot of my best friends and musicians I respect a ton, love Fish, and they're not my thing particularly, but I respect the hell out of them, and what they and other bands have done is created a culture where there are lots of fans out there who want to hear like experimental and like improvised and like music or instrumental based music. Yeah. So what we do, we play a lot of the gigs we play happen to be on the scene that, like I said, like the jam scene. So the other night we played a gig with this band called Talk, and they're more along the lines of jam band, but they're definitely proggy. They do some interesting time signatures and tonality and stuff, and all very good musicians. What we do is, I think, a little like more out there, not as accessible, but the fans are open to it because their ears are ready for like exploration and stuff like that. So it definitely exists, and like bands like Snarky Puppy like definitely have forged the way also for things like this, and we exist in a realm like as a band where we can play for these jam bands, and sometimes it goes over really well, and other times like we've definitely played sets where we're opening for a jam band and like we get done a song and literally no one reacts whatsoever.
You freaked out the hippies.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. So we just released an EP, 4 tracks that we recorded in Nashville, sponsored by the company Meinl. That it's a simple company that Chris is endorsed by. So we released those 4 tracks. We have an album in the works. It's been in the works for a very long time. It's all of our like kind of our first batch of songs, and then we have plans to record a second album this year too. So we're going to finish the first one and do another one because I think all of us are very excited about the new ideas that are coming because we're learning how to write for each other and how this band works. Like, it just kind of was put together randomly. Like, I was like, oh, I want to play with that guy. Oh, I want to play with that guy. We need another guy. And me and Zach have been playing together for years. So I was like, oh, right, Zach. All right, here's some guys. Now I got a band. Here we go.
Thank you so much for watching. And, guys, thank you so much for coming, man. You guys are amazing. You have inspired me and all the people here for sure. And I really do expect great things with this band, man. Like, from hearing you guys, like, you need to be heard a lot more. For real.